Hey everyone, thanks so much for meeting me this evening. So we're gonna finish up the tile in the shower, part 7 of the tiled shower course. And hey, thanks so much for joining me tonight. Give me a like on this video on the way in, really helps out that algorithm. It's great to see all the other views on the other courses here online, and the main reason I'm doing this is just to get to know everyone here better, answer any questions, and the feedback that you guys give me is like tremendously helpful because it'll help me make a better course and add more things as time goes on. When I find more issues that people are struggling with, I can create a video and highlight that and put that into this course as well. So the main reason that I really wanted to do this live was just not only just the interaction. So please leave your questions in the chat if you have any. And then if you're watching this later, you can always leave them in the comments as well. I do look at them and I do try to get back to them as much as I can. As things build and get bigger, it might be more difficult to get back to all these comments. But when I'm live streaming, I'm completely focused with you guys. Hey, Doug, good to see you. Thanks so much. Just so you know, now you guys are probably already on my channel, so you've probably already seen where I'm at here, but I just want to make sure that you know that on my YouTube channel, if you go to the playlists underneath the main heading here, and you can go to the towel, walk, and shower online. So you just click the full playlist here, and you'll see all the other parts of this entire series. So this is basically highlighting the course that I created on teachable.com. This is a great platform that I've been able to build out and be able to just easily configure things to easily teach. I've been really happy with it so far. There's a lot more features in it that I actually want to use. I'd like to do the coaching app as well, so that when you guys are really struggling on something, I can do a live stream of some sort, or be on FaceTime or some kind of, I'm not sure if Teachable actually has an app for that, but one way or the other, I probably will get into some further coaching as more demand, for some real help on different things. But as of right now, I got 3 different courses available, which is basically the tub and shower course, which is everything to do with installing a tub. This is actually the entire process of a bathroom. So it goes from demoing everything down to the studs, doing a bunch of framing, installing the tub, drywall, toilet installation, vanity, tile floor. I mean, you name it, it basically goes through the entire thing. So it really does go well with the tiled shower as well, because the tiled shower is just that. It's just removing that existing fiberglass unit and installing a new custom tiled shower. So if you bought both of them together, it really makes a lot of sense. And I actually have a package now that you can buy all of these in the same thing. It's called the DIY Bathroom Geek Collection. I do plan on adding another course to this. I'm going to be in the process of building a curbless shower course. So that will be part of this collection. So if you bought this now, you're going to get that in the future. But as of right now, it has all 3 of these together. Custom glass enclosure. If you're doing custom glass, you definitely want to check out that, because custom glass is extremely expensive, and you could save yourself a lot of money by measuring, ordering, and getting that. So let's hop into the course here, just to show you the breakdown of what this is. Obviously, if you've seen other videos, you know what this course is all about. And hey, if you bought the course, I really appreciate it. Really supports my platform, really keeps me motivated. But yeah, it goes from the demo process to framing. Framing is a very important topic when it comes to custom tiled showers. You really want to make sure that you have blocking everywhere you need. I know a lot of you are probably thinking about or having to change out tubs and installing walk-in showers for your older parents, or somebody that had some kind of accident and they can't step over the tub anymore. So, it's, when you're framing things, you want to make sure that you're getting enough blocking for grab bars, the depth made for the shower valves and stuff is important. So a lot of great framing tips in there. Be sure to review this on the channel. You can go back to see, I think it's part 2 that I actually did the framing portion of this. Moving the drain. This is something that is always a question mark. You don't really know what you're getting into. Even the contractors that come out and take a look at this for you, they don't exactly know what's going to go on with that shower drain until they tear out the shower unit. So usually there's a lot of padding there. I know when I go out to bid bathrooms, I do leave a few hours of work to be able to refinagle this because it might take me longer than I think. So you could pretty much say that any contractor is going to charge you about $500 to, basically evaluate and change that. And there's no given on that either. If there isn't any vent on the shower deal, or if there's structure in a way, you might not be able to get that drain to where you want it to. This is not to scare you in any way, but this is the realities of renovating, and you just don't really know. So when you don't know, and when contractors don't know, they're going to charge extra money to do that. So I go into a lot of great tips in the course on some of the ways you want to go about doing that. But again, I mean, you just don't, every situation's a little bit different. You just don't know what you're getting into. But as time moves forward, I really want to add more additional different scenarios to this course too, because the more different scenarios I can show, the better. But I would imagine most of you are probably dealing with copper, unless you have a home that you're renovating from, 20, 30 years ago. But from what I've been gathering, a lot of the people that are in this course right now, they're remodeling homes that were 50, 60 years old. I think I have one person that said they have a 190-year-old home. So that's getting pretty old there. So shower faucet. In this particular unit, I installed the Delta shower system with a separate diverter. And I go through the simplest way to go about it. That's what my channel is all about, is efficiency, getting things done. I'm not the cleanest guy in the world when it comes to tiling and doing all of this stuff, but at the end of the project, you'll see the end result, and that's what really matters. And I'm just saying that because, I'm about efficiency. I'm about getting things done. I don't sweat the details. I do give you a lot of detailed information here, but I don't sweat the details when I'm on the job. It's basically get the job done in an efficient manner. So when it comes to shower valves, I really like using PEX B. I think it's easy. I think most DIYers, if you're only doing 1 or 2 bathrooms, you're not going to spend $1,000 worth of plumbing equipment to change out your valve. You're going to go to the simplest route, which I think makes a lot of sense, and that's just to use PEX B with the crimps. A crimper might cost you $40. I think you can rent them at places. I wouldn't really necessarily advise renting because, then you're on a time crunch and you feel pressure to return it. But $40 for a crimper, it's not that bad to have that. I mean, you're certainly going to have, a significant cost having a plumber come out to do that for you. But hey, if you're not comfortable with plumbing, if you're in an area that, you really need to be able to get the permit and do that stuff, you definitely want to be hiring a professional for that. So I'm not trying to steer you into, doing things wrong, but, do your own due diligence. Permits and stuff like that are very localized. So you have to know in your own local jurisdiction what needs to be done. And, so anyways, I get into the waterproofing. We already went through that on this course, which was the Weedy shower system. I really think this is a simple, DIY friendly shower system. Really kind of foolproof in a lot of ways. One of the great things is that it's waterproof all the way through. So you drop something, you drop a piece of tile, you have other contractors who are working in the area. You don't have to be worried about it leaking unless you penetrate it all the way through the pan. And it's a sealant application, so it's really simple. It's not really that difficult. It's a caulking gun type of thing, and just making sure that you get the correct coverage. Biggest thing that happens to most people is they run out of sealant. So make sure you buy enough. You'd be better off returning a couple tubes if you needed to, versus being short. I still have that problem sometimes, and I really should have more stock in my trailer. But, like this particular shower is 3x4, with the niche, or no, I didn't do a niche in this one, so I'm sorry. But, I basically went through about 9 tubes of sealant. I should have bought 10. Because I actually needed a little bit more for some of the areas. Not a big deal. I mean, the main reason was I did an outside corner here, and I feathered over that outside corner. So check that out on previous videos. And then tiling the shower. So that's what we're going to be finishing up today. We're doing the plumbing wall. This is a basic layout. I didn't want to get anything too complex because I feel like a lot of you might be just trying to improve your space, but not go crazy. You're not going to go spend $3,000 worth of tile. You're really looking for something nice, in replacement of that old fiberglass unit. Maybe you have a cracked base where you're forced to change that out. And tiling is a great option, because I know right now there's a lot of shortages on a lot of items out there, and you can't get a lot of those solid surface type of materials. But you'll find that with some of this tile, I mean, you could be $300-400 in expense worth of tile and really save yourself a lot of money. Those solid surface type of showers, even the fiberglass units, can cost a bit of money. And if you can't get it for 6 months, then that's not going to really help a lot of people out. So anyways, I went simple with the enclosure. I just basically used 8 by 24 inch tile, and then just a simple border, and then just glass shelving. So just know that any like additional feature, like a recessed niche, or going curbless, or adding a bench, those are all items that are going to continue to increase the cost, and the labor time to do it as well. So sometimes if you're in a smaller shower, 3x4, maybe just keep it simple, and put that money towards a nice shower door. Shower doors are going to be $800-900 to purchase, so you're going to need it for that. You could do heated flooring, maybe, if with some of that extra money you would save on all the trim that you would need for a recessed niche. So there's a lot of different ways that you can, get that wow factor and not have to do some, really crazy intricate work and drive yourself crazy, So I think simple is better. And then, I used to do a lot of high-end showers, a lot of high-end work. And I just found over the years that, that high-end work is great, makes my portfolio look awesome. But as a contractor, I really wasn't making much more money. I could do, 2 of these type of bathrooms in the same time I'm doing those really big, large $40,000 bathrooms, and I'm making more money on the smaller jobs than I am on the bigger ones. It's just kind of the nature of it. I have a pattern with these smaller bathrooms because I've done so many of them, and really I don't even have to work that hard at it at this point. 6-7 hours a day. A lot of this particular bathroom took me 9 days, and that's with the filming, so that does kind of draw things out. But anyways, it's just if you're a contractor thinking about getting into this, I feel sticking with the medium priced homes, medium priced jobs. I mean, I think that's where the sweet spot is. Once you get too high end, it becomes you just spend a lot of time on those details, and then you end up maybe not making as much money as what you would like to. So anyways, we're going to do the tiling of the curb today. Just a very simple curb. I think the solid surfaces make a lot of sense. And again, I said we did glass shelving, and then we'll be getting into the grouting here maybe today. Later on, depends on kind of the questions that I get and as we move forward. But the shower doors are always the last thing to go in, and I really like this system. So I'm excited to continue to talk about this glass enclosure. And all of these videos, I mean, in different versions, are on my YouTube channel. You can find basically the finished deal of this. This is just highlighting the course and getting into further detail of it. But as you can see, the curriculum, it kind of just steps you through it very nicely, I feel. One of the great things I love about the course entity of this is it keeps you from being distracted, and you can just go back right to where you left off and refresh your memory on what you're doing, and just keeping yourself organized in a lot of ways. Whereas YouTube, I mean, you go back to these playlists, you're going to be watching commercials, and it's going to be hard to find where you left off, and then you can easily get distracted by everything. So I don't know, for $40 for the course, I think if you're serious about doing this, it's going to be well worth the money, I feel. I mean, there's no doubt that you're going to save that much by just being more efficient and following my guidance here. So okay, so we already went through all of these parts of the tiling. We did the sidewall last, and now we have the plumbing wall. But I gotta sign into my own course, don't I? Let me bring that down here. I don't know why I'm not signed in. Log in. Okay. View school. I thought I already viewed that. Maybe it was because I was in it as public. Let me see here. Plumbing wall. Okay, there we go. All right. So let me see if I got any questions here before we get started. So if you ever live anywhere near Florida, you could make a few beauty videos redoing my master shower. It's already disassembled and I have all the materials. Well, thanks, Doug. I wish I was a little bit closer to you. Florida does sound nice, but yeah, that's a little too far for me, but that would be great. Do you ever use the gun for the towel levelers? No, Gene, I really don't. I personally don't, but I mean, there's a lot of people that do like it. And what she's talking about is, so if I go on Amazon here, is just the T-lock gun. So I like the Perfect Level Master T-lock system, which is basically a wedge and clip system for tile. Why does that make it being weird like that? So T-lock, it just doesn't want to keep that in there, does it? T-lock gun. So this little gun, yeah, this little guy right here, this will make it easier for you. I mean, honestly, you know, I do hear some people complain about how much pressure it takes and their thumbs are kind of worn out. So it's definitely something, I used to use it. I don't really care for it anymore. I'm just so used to just using my fingers. But, you know, it is something that you can consider using if you're doing a lot of tile because it will kind of wear out your thumbs by doing it. But, I mean, $43, that's kind of expensive, especially if you're only doing 1 or 2 bathrooms. So, Gene, it's really up to you. I mean, it does take a little pressure to put those in, and you can wear down your thumbs. But if you're, you know, I would imagine if you haven't done a lot of showers, you're only doing about 50 square feet a day of tile. And I probably would forgo buying that, but you know, try it out without it, and you know, and then you can always order that. I think these things are pretty quickly to get to you. You know, I would at least try without it because $43 is a lot of money to buy just for that gun. Fasten Hatch, love your content and all your wisdom. Thanks so much. Hey Dalton, good to see you. So, you know what? One thing before I get started here, I did want to mention to you guys on my Amazon. I'm starting to do some live streams there. So if you guys want to follow me on here, and that would help me out on this channel as well. Because, you know, a lot of the links that I have in my course and links that I share with people, it is affiliate. So it does help out my platform. And I want to, you know, be clear that don't buy everything off of Amazon. Obviously, some of the stuff is not exactly the best price, but it sure is convenient. And I order a ton off of here. But if you are ordering off of here and you're ordering some of that T-lock system or whatever, I mean, I really do appreciate it if you bought it from my Amazon store. But you can follow me on here, and I'm starting to do some live streams. So I just did one today about demo day, and I go into a little bit more detail about the tools. So you can also meet me there and ask me questions there as well. I'm going to try to do that maybe weekly, but I really like the whole concept of the idea because it allowed me to just, you know, go further in the detail about the tools and everything that you needed. So I did this one today. It was about an hour's worth on demo day and just going through all of the things that you want to be prepared for. But as you can see, I have all these different highlighted areas: tubs and shower faucets, drywall, tile tools, you know, waterproofing for showers. Again, be careful on what you're purchasing here. These are mostly references for what to buy, but do your price checking. But, you know, like for instance, like getting one of these blades. I think this is probably the best blade you can buy for porcelain tile, this Montolit CGX blade. I love it. If you're just doing 1 or 2 bathrooms, that's probably all you would need. You obviously see in my videos that I'm using all this sophisticated equipment. There's no reason to go buying all this stuff. But if you're doing it on a general basis, you know, get yourself one of these shop vacs that you can connect your grinder to so you can reduce the dust. But a lot of these things are, you know, obviously way out of the price range or something that would make sense for somebody who's just doing 1 or 2 showers. But there are some things in here, you know, like that CGX blade. I think that's, you know, it would be a really good idea if you're doing that, especially porcelain tile or something like that. Ceramics and stuff like that, you can get away with anything you buy at the box store in a lot of ways because ceramic doesn't take that much of a diamond blade to cut through. So, but yeah, anyways, follow me on here. This is my back channel, so I don't see how, when you go to my actual store, and it's in the link in the description of this video as well, or if not, I will have it soon. But you can follow me on this and then you'll get notified of the live streams. Who knows? I mean, I think Amazon has a pretty cool idea there. So I'm kind of excited about trying that out. So, yeah. So Dank knowledge. Okay. Hello, new to plumbing and tiling, but loving it. Great. Yeah. It is rewarding. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, bathroom remodeling is definitely rewarding. You know, I really feel that you do this yourself and get, you know, gets it just it is quite an accomplishment. You get to use it every day, which is the best. You know, there's nothing more rewarding than that. Let me get my. There we go. I'll make sure this is completely opened here. Okay. All right. So we're going to go through the tiling process here. This is about an 8-minute video. And then, again, if you guys got any questions, leave me in the comments and I'd be happy to go over it. But you'll see how my course is laid out and how I go about, you know, rehashing some of the most important parts of it. All right. So plumbing wall, same concept. We're just going straight out to our edge now. We don't have to worry about a level line. We're just going to go straight out to our corner bead here. So it'll kind of make it easier in that respect. So if you guys are watching this later, there's music on it right now, but there might be music that I take out later on, just for copyright stuff. So the process with tiling gets really fun as you move forward on it, for sure. I mean, it's just really, those leveling clips make it easy. Make sure those tiles are all nice and even. Back buttering all your tiles is absolutely important. And then on this particular type of towel, I was using the Euro Trowel. So there will be a link in the below. Here I'll show you as I scroll down. But the Euro Trowel is really great for these size tiles. And this was ceramic, so this was like really simple stuff to cut. And most of the time your escutcheon plates, you know, cover a good ½ inch outside of your valve cover, but, you know, really depends on what you're purchasing. Okay, so once you mark your center points of where your valve is, what I like to do, and this is the way I like to do it, is to use a Montolet STL blade, which kind of, essentially just kind of grinds your way through the tile. It's also a cutting wheel as well, but if you kind of keep it on a 30-degree angle, you can pretty much kind of control it and grind your way through the tile. Really easy on ceramic. It's great for porcelain tiles as well. And then when it comes to the actual bigger part that I need to cut, I just kind of find something that references that 4.5-inch circle that the valve seal is. So one of my hole saw kits, the 4 3/4 one, worked out pretty well. So, and as you can see here, again, it's just kind of grinding its way in there. This is just one way to go about it. I feel like this is a little bit safer in a lot of ways too than using a regular grinder and cutting around. You can kind of have a difficult time getting clean cuts that way. But always when you go to install this, double check your escutcheon plate, make sure that it's going to cover any of the cuts that you actually do make this way. So that was the STL blade, but again, if you're only doing 1 or 2 showers, you don't need to go buying a $130 diamond blade like that. But I definitely recommend it if you're a contractor doing more than a couple of showers, because it really comes in handy for a lot of reasons. Okay, so this guy is basically right by the center. So I always just mark where the center is, because you're really going to need like a 2.5-inch hole saw for most of this. It's really hard to make a grinder work with this. It's so small. So yeah, about a 2.5-inch hole is usually pretty good for the diverter. Okay, in order to cut this, so here's a 2 1/4. It's actually 2 1/4 inch. But what I recommend is to first cut a hole in the scrap piece to about center, so that you can hold this and keep that bit from moving. Yeah, a lot of ways. I mean, you could do that with a grinder. It's just going to be more difficult. Valve trim on there, that should be fine. Maybe just go a little bit, just make an adjustment cut. fine tune that cut a little bit. Yeah, so that's perfect. So you just want to make sure you feel around here, make sure that that whole locking nut is available to you. You can cut this out too.
That is one thing about the Delta valves. They are kind
At
of
this
a pain
point,
in
you
the
can
neck.
cut this out.
They do make a bonnet tool to get that little locking ring off, but that's probably one downside to this type of.
But you just basically want to have
shower
enough
system.
room around this locking nut to be able to do. But you want to make this fairly tight because those excussion plates don't really cover a whole lot. So I'd say at the most about a 1/2 inch. So we're probably at our max distance here.
Yep.
But it's important to be able to grab this locking nut and take it out.
I don't know why they don't give you much. They just don't. So, you know, but these are things you should think about, you know, if you're really trying to be on a budget, you know, because that hole saw, you know, I mean, it's going to be $50 to buy that. And if you're only doing 1 or 2 showers, or if you're just doing 1 shower like this.
Okay, so there's many different
money.
ways to cut a hole in tile, but there's really just a couple bits that they kind of make. So one is an interchangeable one. This is made by Milwaukee, so you can get additional pieces together. And then the other one would just be a solid core for your specific size. So around those ports, I use 1.25 inch. You can also use the 1 inch bit as well. These are definitely a little bit cheaper, probably 25 bucks. This is probably about 50 bucks. The first thing you want to do is just get a pilot hole. Doesn't even have to be all the way through. So when you have a hole that's off, just kind of visualize where that's at, and then you can move it up with the existing hole. So something like that.
That's basically ruining a piece. You know, obviously, I kind of knew piece to get that to be the right size.
Okay, this does not work. So you got plenty of room around here to grab that. And we're right on the level, so we're good.
So yeah, what I was saying is like maybe choose a valve that already has your diverter in it. You know that, but those usually do cost a little bit more. So I don't know. It's a kind of a catch-22 when it comes to buying. Now some of these Amazon valves that, you know, I call them Amazon valves because I don't know where else they sell them. But some of them already have the diverters inside of the main cartridge, and they're really, really reasonably priced. I'm going to have some future videos out on some of them, just because I mean, they're a third of the cost of, you know, like the main brands like Delta and Moen.
So on this guy, it's usually best again. Just cut a piece of scrap first. Okay, then just kind of eye it up for the center.
So this border was really easy because it was actually thicker than the wall tile. So I didn't really even have to do any backing. So recent videos will show you the method of installing that border. But again, choosing some of this stuff to make it easy for yourself just makes it that much quicker. Okay, so then we're going to get into the curb next, but I'll answer some questions here for sure. So let me get my, grabbing the wrong thing here. Okay, well, that's way too big. Okay, so Anthony, okay, well, first off, Dank was saying I'm making a shower enormous and deleting the ceiling box above the shower, rerouting plumbing. Okay, awesome, man, that's great. So I'm guessing you have like a what do you call it, like a bulkhead above your shower that you're removing. Okay, yeah, that's definitely, I never liked those bulkheads. They kind of allow steam and everything to go up against. I guess that used to be a thing back in the day that people enjoyed having being enclosed in the shower, I guess. So I don't know, but Anthony, what are your thoughts on Ardex 5 versus Schluter All Set for 2x4 tiles? I would go Ardex X5 all day long. I mean, that's my go-to thin set. I absolutely love it. I do use a lot of Schluter All Set though. I mean, I love it. I mean, Schluter All Set's great too, but Ardex X5 is going to last so much longer in the bucket. I think that's one of the biggest key elements to it that I always suggest to any beginner or anybody who doesn't do a lot of tile. Just get Ardex X5. I mean, you're going to, or X77. X77 is like twice the expense. That's more for, I would buy X77 for, like glass mosaics or something delicate or something that, you really want to make sure the sticks on the wall and doesn't move. I used to use it for everything, but it just started getting out of range on price. It would be even at a contractor's price around $50 a bag, and that becomes a little ridiculous. Ardex X5, about $30 for a contractor, $35 for somebody who buys it from the tile shop, just a DIY or whatever. But you're gonna find yourself being able to have a lot more time with Ardex X5. And here's a great thing. I mean, Schluter, I keep going over this because they were the ones who created this major debacle over the modified unmodified thing, but majority of manufacturers now warrant their thin sets, whether they're modified or not, with Schluter products. Now, where the one thing I would say that I think is a good idea is when you're setting all the membranes and you're doing the waterproofing with Schluter, I would use the all set. I would just purchase that, because then all the warranty on the waterproofing is on Schluter. And then if you did Ardex X5 for setting all the tile, if there's something wrong with your tile setting, Ardex is going to warrant that. So that's my thoughts on it. I do think that All Set does have a superior bond to, like, especially Ditra. I used to have a lot of problems with Ditra adhering correctly and with different types of modified thin sets that weren't Schluter All Set. And I just noticed that when you pull back the Ditra with an All Set installation, it definitely seems like it has a superior bond to it. So I would, most jobs, I would usually buy one bag of, if I'm doing Schluter, I buy one bag of Schluter All Set and then like 3 bags of X5. And then I always have X77 on hand just in case I have those glass mosaics that I'm trying to be very careful with. But, a lot of times that's not even necessary. So, but our XX5 all day long for sure. It's my unlevel floors and out of plumb walls in the upstairs master bathroom that are most challenging to me right now. Everything runs off different directions. Good old 1979 construction. Yeah, that's kind of sad in a lot of ways. That's not even that old of a house, if you ask me. Around here in Pittsburgh, that's kind of that's a middle-aged home, really. Not even middle-aged. That's kind of I prefer working on homes in the 1980s. That's usually a lot easier than the 1940s, where they had all the plaster and mud bed walls. I'm actually doing a job in 2 weeks, so stay tuned on my channel. You'll see the amount of work that some of these older homes take to remove things. But yeah, that's a pain. I feel your pain on that. Best thing is obviously get it level. I mean, so depending on how bad it is, sometimes you might want to just put sister new joists on your floor and get and make that level. Don't forget about floor leveler. Floor leveler is always a very easy way. Now you can, in a small bathroom, you can even go 3 or 4 bags. That can cost you $200. So think about, your cost difference on what you're doing. But if you're really gutting everything down to the studs, which I normally recommend, and you're removing the subflooring, it might be just easier to sister new joists on and, basically go to the sides of the joist, just, screw them in and get that floor level. And then as far as plumb walls go, you could do the same thing or shim it out. Really depends on how bad it is. I always say anything that's within a 1/4 inch, you're going to be all right. Don't sweat anything under that. That's starting to get, it really depends on the intricacy of what you're doing. If you're going to do penny tile, for instance, throughout your whole shower going up the walls, okay, make it as completely flat as you possibly can, because that's going to pick up any little bit of movement or any bit of divots or out, anything that moves out. But if you're doing 12 by 24s, if you're doing these bigger tile, you're doing what I'm doing here, 1/4 inch isn't going to make a difference at all. It really is not going to be a big deal to overcome that with a little bit additional Thinset. And if you're using a leveling system, it really makes it easy. You just, obviously have to pay attention when you're setting the tile. If it does divot in 1/4 inch, you want to add a little bit more Thinset and make sure you're getting that good bond. But I would not stress about 1/4 inch at all. You're really kind of splitting hairs on that one. Even the shower pan systems, they're 1/4 inch per foot. 1/4 inch is not going to be the end of the world. So, but you can always level out your pan too. Add a different additional Thinset, get that leveled out, and that's not going to be overly complicated. Especially if you're doing a curb shower, that makes it really easy because then you're not overly concerned about that levelness. When you're doing a curbless shower, that's when it kind of hurts when you have to raise one side up a little bit more, because then you're not level on the outside floor. So that's where on the outside floor it probably makes sense to floor level to meet up with the pan if you're doing that. Okay, so an ice cream, an ICC exam cheater course would be cool. Yeah, that's cool. My house is real O2 on a raised foundation. I just got the whole master bathroom, thinking about self-leveling my whole bathroom before I do anything. Yeah, it really is going to be helpful to you to do that, so I would definitely consider that as well. So, but yeah, looking at my course here, we'll go step you through what, how this is kind of laid out, and basically just kind of gives you some references on going through here, because I really don't feel like it's necessary to go watch an 8-minute video again. And you can just kind of go through here. So we're just continuing the pattern. So I guess I didn't really mention that when we're doing the other side of the wall, we made sure that we were, bending the tile in the corner so it looks like it's all one tile bending rather than mirroring each other. I always find that looked better to me, especially in a brick pattern like that. But it is all preference. If you wanted to mirror it and you didn't want to have the longer piece meeting up with the short piece, it's really totally up to you. There's no really right or wrong when it comes to that. Back buttering your tile, obviously really important to get the correct amount of coverage. And then bull nose tile, yeah, I would definitely go even with the edge of your corner bead here, because there's really, since there's so many intricate pieces on it, you're not going to be mudding it. But if you're going to do a Schluter metal edging, I would recommend allowing that to stick outside of your outside corner, and then you can mud right over that, basically using that edging as your edge piece. So then you can add additional drywall joint compound and make that corner really, really nice looking. I think that's really the best way to go, because you don't really want to, especially if you're doing a Schluter edge or a metal edging like this, you don't want to be grouting that. You don't want to be caulking that. It's going to look kind of awful. I've done it before and it just doesn't look right. So I always allow that to go outside the corner just a little bit, just enough so that your blade, when you fill that in with joint compound, it looks great. Sometimes if you have too much of a gap there, you can also just put some paper tape over that joint so it doesn't crack. But really, most of the time we're only talking about a 1/16, and it really isn't usually much of an issue. So, but yeah, Schluter profile, I have a link to that in there. Marking out your shower valve, making sure that you get that escutcheon plate. So this is the Montolit STL blade. Again, if you're only doing one shower, don't go spend $120 on a blade, but it's definitely nice if you're doing this all the time, for sure. Marking out your towel. Now, like most shower valves, especially with these little valve seals, that's 4.5 inches. So 4 3/4, 5-inch hole usually works pretty well for that. Gives you a good reference point. So yeah, so this is really what it comes down to now. Like I said, getting the hole saw diamond bit, so $33, and you still have to buy the actual the arbor for it. So you're looking at probably $53 to do a 2 1/4 inch hole. That's kind of painful if you're only doing one hole. But you could do this with a grinder. You definitely can possibly achieve that. You're just going to have better luck with the hole saw, obviously. But yeah, trying to just basically create a little template, you know, a pre-cut hole in a different one will make sure that you get that nicely done. So yeah, so then I have all the list of all the helpful materials underneath of here that you know, that I've been using in the video as well. And then if you're part of the course, you can always leave a question down here below and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. So getting into the tiled curb. So this is I like to do the solid surface curbs. I think they're the easiest ones to do, and they always look great, and they're great for, you know, putting shower doors over. But there's obviously many different ways you can do a curb, and it really depends on, you know, your style and what you're looking for, and then your availability. So this was a 40-inch wide shower, so it worked out really great because a lot of places like Home Depot or Tile Shop, they carry sills that are 42 inches wide, so you can just cut them pretty easily. So once you get into the 48 inches or 60-inch wide ones, that's where you have to kind of go to your specialty tile store to purchase it. I know the Tile Shop does not have that. I'm pretty sure they're still all 42 inches, and you don't want to put a seam. Please don't put a seam. It looks terrible. I always get them. Sometimes clients go there and then somebody tells them to buy 2 curbs for it, and I refuse the let me see, that'd be a sill plate. I think they call them sills, not thresholds, or maybe it is thresholds. Yeah, so these are 4.5, 36 inches. That's not going to do anything. A lot of these are, yeah, okay, here's a 48 inch. So if you had a 48 inch shower, you'll be able to get one. You can see that price though. Whew, boy, $170 for a solid surface. That's honed marble. Yeah, I would try to beat them up on that price if you were to buy that. But most of them are going to be under 48 inches. So if you're doing a 60-inch shower, you're not going to have a whole heck of a lot of luck in a lot of these box stores. So you're going to probably have to buy, you know, one from a bigger tile distributor. Like right around here, we have the Best Tile, and they have them in 62-inch lengths, and I can cut them down to make them fit. Or you can just go to your local granite place and have them made. So if you have a different color tile, you can just say, hey, I want a curb for my shower, and you know, it needs to be 4 inches by whatever it is that you want to make it. I'd always probably try to cut that down. I'd give them a wider measurement than what you need, so just in case you needed to cut it. But that does take time, unfortunately. You usually you don't usually can get it the same day. You have to order it a couple weeks in advance, especially these days for it. But yeah, let's just go through the tiling process of the curb. Really simple, and the weedy system is something I really like using, especially when I get into the glass shower doors installation. Okay, so we're going to do the curb. This is usually what happens to a weedy curb. You step on it and all compresses, and it's not like exactly flat anymore. Especially these lean curves, they definitely seem to get spashed down a lot more than normal. So I would recommend just getting a decent amount of Thinset on your side pieces. Put them up first before filling the top of this Thinset, because then, you know, you can fill in that whole cavity along here. So you want to put some spacers between the floor definitely put spacers there, and then so you can see I have a decent amount of Thinset there. So I'm just going to basically squish this into place. So that's overhanging the curb. Okay, so to make sure this outside leading edge is level. So put a level under. That looks pretty good. It's pretty good. Okay, so then at least if you got one side on, then you can go ahead and put some Thinset on your actual curb. You'll find a lot of these foam curbs, you end up kind of after that smashing them down like that. It's not a big deal. So put a fair amount on, because I'd rather just ooze out than to not have enough. And when you're doing marble, you kind of do need a wet saw to cut it nicely. Fortunately, the grinders don't really cut marble all that cleanly. But you can do it. I mean, if you had a marble blade, you can cut nice, but the wet saw is going to be nicer.
Keep this even. So we'll go like 3/4 of an inch of an overhang.
Really? Lowe's has them. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I don't go to Lowe's all that often. I should
Okay, so then you want this pitching in, but you don't want it to be too extreme. This is pretty extreme. So I'm going to hold this up a little bit. I just want it, basically the bubble to be in like halfway on the span, but you definitely want to make this in. So got some small pieces for the inside. Just see if that's at the right height.
So with that weedy curb, that was only like a 2-inch wide curb, and then that's a 4-inch top.
Yeah,
I personally like the 4-inch tops.
Same thing here.
I'm
really putting a generous amount of Thinset on here.
Especially in a smaller shower. I mean, the curb top really kind of takes out a lot of space. And if you pay attention to the detail here, I've always made sure that that wall sticks out beyond there so that you have something to go up to. So on either side, the tile comes outside of the shower area.
So it's nice and level. And you just want to make sure it's pitched in towards the shower, so we're good. This works. All right, cool.
So that's all there is to it when it comes to that. But yeah, you're a bike boy. I did not know that Lowe's carries 60-inch steels. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, Doug, if you're an inch out, for one, I would definitely, when you get up that subfloor, I would definitely recommend checking out those joists. See what's going on there. When I see an inch or more out of level, I feel like there's something structurally going on there, and you just want to pay attention to what that might be. I don't know if your whole house is kind of doing that. If the floor below is kind of doing the same thing, then maybe it is just the settling of the house that created that problem. But I've had some real nightmare situations where there's some major compromisation of the joist. Somebody hacked out a big area of it to run plumbing, and then that's what created that sag. But I agree with Dalton. I would just sister that. The floor leveler at a 1-inch thick is going to take a lot of bags of it. You can have like $500 into floor leveler pretty easily, raising it that much. And really, they have a cap too. You don't really want to go with floor leveler more than most of them are about 1.25 inches thick. And then you have to do it in a couple of layers after that. But yeah, I would probably take out all that plywood or whatever and then just sister on. You could use some 2x6s or 2x4s. Just literally glue them and sister them to the side of the joist using 3-inch deck screws. Or if you have a nail gun, use a nail gun, but then just raise that up to get it level. Now, hopefully you don't have the inch at the door entrance, because that's going to be painful for you. If you do, there's really not much you're going to be able to do about it. If you have that 1-inch unlevel at the door, that is really painful, because by the time you're done with tile and everything, you're probably going to be at 1.5 inches, and that's like the worst transition you can have, because it's always a tripping hazard. So, it is, Doug. I feel for you, man. I feel for you. I've had that situations before in old homes. I just have to tell the client, hey, I got to put the one I did, I just used a Schluter edge literally and tiled the edge, and it's kind of like a step. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, I don't feel comfortable as a contractor shaving down the other end of the joists. I'm not going to do that. You really kind of need an engineer to tell you to do something like that. And plus, I mean, how are you really going to cut every single joist neatly all the way across, especially depending on how you span it? But yeah, that's kind of painful. Maybe yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell you on that. It's definitely going to be a little tricky, because yeah, you're basically going to have maybe you'll just have 1.5 inches all the way across that area. But yeah. Yeah, so all right, well, so yeah, looking down below here, the curb is a very simple process when you buy those solid curb tops. 4-inch, actually I have a link. I didn't even know I put a link in here. All right, so this is one from Tile Shop, $205. My goodness. That's probably what you're going to pay if you went to a granite place, though. You're probably going to pay that kind of money to have one specially made for you. So I guess I shouldn't be totally appalled by it, but boy, I'm pretty sure this one I got from Home Depot wasn't more than $50. So it does cost, you know, a little bit to do that. But it is cheaper than doing a curbless shower. Curbless shower, you know, the systems are going to cost you more, and the labor is certainly going to increase as well. So maintaining levelness on the outside, and you can build out that thinset up to about 3/4 of an inch. So if you want to get more depth there, you can do that. Sometimes you can add another piece of weedy or whatever your backer board was to feather it out if you want to have your side tiles come out further. But yeah, make sure it pitches. Make sure you set that curb level. Obviously, because your glass doors are really going to be a pain in the neck if this curb is not level. You know, and Doug, thinking about it, man, I mean, you know, maybe if you could avoid that, maybe you don't need an absolutely level outside floor. Just make sure that your curb is nice and level. And again, if you're like a 1/4 inch off on the outside area, I mean, that would get you down to 3/4 of an inch. And that's not going to be the end of the world. Nothing's going to be totally weird. I mean, you might have to, like on your vanity, hopefully, you know, you get a vanity that has those little pegs that kind of adjust the feet. You might have to adjust the feet on the back more than in the front type of thing. I don't know, but you might be able to reduce that rather than having a completely level floor, you know, just because of the tripping hazard of it. So, yeah, so that's pretty much the curb. That's very simple. I did want to put a recessed niche thing in here. Now, we obviously didn't do that in this shower, but I did want to give you some tips on a niche, because I know that's a feature that, you know, a lot of people like. And if you're a contractor, I would definitely recommend, you know, you're definitely going to need to charge more for a niche. I mean, there's at least 3 hours worth of work, no matter which way you look at it, into this, maybe even more depending on the intricacy. But I have some tips on this little knee wall that I built last winter. So here, check it out here. In this video, I want to give you some tiling tips on installing tile on a knee wall with a recessed niche. So if you're using metal edging or a Schluter type of edging, you want to make sure you encase that with Thinset and have it well bonded to the wall before installing. And then obviously you want to line your first row or whatever the pattern is of your tile in the shower to match on that knee wall. Now, as far as applying Thinset, you want to burn the Thinset into the substrate with the flat side of the trowel first, and use directional troweling and back butter the towels to get that 95% coverage that you should have in a shower. Now, as you can see, I'm using a laser level. This really helps out to align everything in place. And then again, just making sure that I use that directional troweling. And you want to maintain a gap between the floor and the wall tile. This is good for expansion and contraction. And then I always recommend to overhang your tile around the niche, just slightly, maybe 1/16 to 1/8 inch. This just makes sure that when you install the tile on the inside of the niche, that you're going to be able to align that with the outside tile nicely. Yeah, and then using leveling clips really helps out to eliminate the lippage, the evenness in between the tile. It also kind of holds everything together as well. So even this top tile that I put above the niche, once you put the T-lock system together, it kind of holds everything into place and holds it in, you know, makes it easy to hold in place. And then just maintaining that a little bit of extra space around that niche, that's going to ensure that you have a nice finished look when you do the sill tile. Now, as far as L cuts go, you want to use a wet saw for that. That usually is the best way to go. And then you want to use some polishing pads to basically hone down the edges or make sure that there isn't any chips or scratches on it. Using these diamond pads are really helpful for something like that, especially with the high gloss tile like this. Yeah, this high gloss porcelain likes to chip. And then using a grinder with a good diamond blade also helps you touch up some areas as well. And then as far as the edging on here, we're going to continue with the Schluter Rondeck. Just be sure to cut the backing of your Schluter Rondeck, the toweling flange. That'll make sure that it doesn't kind of blow up on you when you're actually using a miter saw. So getting rid of that toweling flange around that will allow you to get some good miter cuts. Now, when you're in the shower, sometimes you might want to do some adjustment cuts with it. I still use the grinder with a good diamond blade, kind of make sure that any little burrs that are on the edging, but you want to make sure you encase the all of the areas for the edging with Thinset. I use just a margin trowel for that, and I want to make sure that's well bonded into all those corners. But that edging will basically raise up off of the tile, the thickness of your tile, and then since you already overhung your tile with the wall tile, you can make it nice and easy to pitch the sill towards the shower and have plenty of room and evenness on your edging. And then if you're going to do a mosaic border in the back, I recommend using a 1/4 by 1/4 inch square notch trowel for that, and bed that above the sill plate, finish your edges, and you're good to go. So that's a nice simple way to go about installing the niche. Really nice clean looks with that metal edging, and you'll find these days anymore that it's hard to find edging. You know, a lot of the tiles that are made out there now, they don't even have any edging for it as well at all. But these Schluter edgings now, they really have come a long way. They have a lot of different flavors of colors to match your tile, which is really awesome. But yeah, just the small details of having a diamond pad, especially for the porcelain tiles. Porcelain is probably one of the most popular types of tile anymore. Most of your big box stores are going to carry that. And, you know, so when it's really like has a nice high gloss to it, it's going to be easy to chip most of the time. So unfortunately, you do have to get a wet saw to cut a lot of that stuff. But yeah, so Doug, that was a weedy shower system. So be sure to check out the previous videos in the video library on my YouTube channel. But yeah, I really like the weedy curb because it's completely foam, waterproof all the way through. So even if I put screws down through the curb, I'm not concerned about water, penetrating any of that. Floor and decor has plastic niche. I don't know what, I mean, you're talking about the waterproof type. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. Unless you're talking about the ones that are already finished. I don't know. I'm not a real big fan of those. And then I know that there are some places that have the niches that are kind of like made out of an ABS material that you screw into place. Never really cared for those either. I think if you're going to do a system, just use some of the extra foam board. You don't really have to buy the preformed niche. You can make that out of the rest of the foam board and waterproof that whole deal. And you can even make it custom with your tile work, kind of paying attention to how you're going to be cutting around with your layout can make it a lot less cuts. A lot of times I'll even do showers where I don't have to do any L cuts whatsoever because I make sure that the 12 by 24 tiles basically come right out to the edges of the niche. So that's, I'm going to have a future video on that, hopefully, where I basically do 12 by 24s and keep that niche at the perfect location where you don't have to do any L cuts. You can just have all solid pieces. I've done it on a few jobs, which has turned out really great. So, but yeah, lots of different scenarios when it comes to installing niches. This is another popular area. This isn't a tub surround, so this was in my tub and shower course. But these corner niches kind of make a lot of sense. Depends on, where your exterior wall is in your home. You really definitely don't want to be putting a niche in an exterior wall because you're not going to have enough insulation behind it, and you're going to cause cracking in the joints. So really important to do that. You need to pay attention to your load-bearing wall. Your outside wall is obviously load-bearing. It's usually holding up the roof, so you're going to have to put a header in if you're going to cut that out. But again, I would not recommend putting niches in the outside walls. You're not going to have enough insulation value, and your corners are always going to crack and cause problems. So but pay attention to your inside walls too. Most of the time, bathrooms do not have load-bearing walls. I mean, it's very, very rare that, unless it's the outside wall, then it's load-bearing. But the interior wall, usually you're only talking about 5 feet away from that back wall. And, I don't really typically see it being load-bearing, but you have to double check and make sure that the joists aren't, split above that floor area. And if you do, you need to put a header above it and frame it out kind of like you do a window. But yeah, niches, yeah, so right here is the demonstration. So if you have joists sitting on top of your wall that look like that, that means your wall is load bearing and you're going to have to put a header above it. And, so keep that in mind. But non-load bearing, just a regular normal wall, you can kind of cut them all out and just bring 2x4s across because there's no load there. It's just basically structuring for the wall. Really easy to do ultimately. So again, I'm just kind of highlighting you don't want to be doing it in exterior walls. A lot of older homes, 1980s homes, 2x4 walls, they didn't have the R value that are required these days. So most newer homes now are 2x6s. Some areas might even be 2x8s to get even a more R value. But all the older homes, 2x4 wall, you're not going to get much more than R15 unless you went with foam. I think you can kind of increase it from there. But pay attention to your overall layout to try to minimize slivers around your tile. I know that's a simple concept to say, but it's not easy in reality. But I tell you what, most of the time, if you plan to have your grout joint right at the bottom of your niche, that usually works out in most circumstances on most different types of tile layouts. So if you're doing bullnose like this, when you bring that grout joint and you put a laser on where your tile layout's going to be, and you have your finished waterproofing at that level, it usually works out perfectly and makes it really easy. So like in this bathroom, these were 6x6 tiles, and every 12 inches I was putting a shelf, so there was only one cut on each part. So lining up your waterproofing, so if it's 1/2 inch foam board or whatever you're using, account for that. But if you have your finished waterproofing layer at the grout joint that you're bringing this over, it usually works out pretty well. So in my experience, it seems like that's what really has worked well. And then again, overhanging those niches just makes everything simpler. If you actually don't overhang it and you have minimal, you're grinding back, behind underneath the tile, you're grinding down that tile to meet up with it, which can be really painful. But here are all the new Schluter edging that they have out there. So they have a whole slew of these different hammered, I guess they call it a hammered edging, but it's just, it matches the tile really well. You can really get them to match a lot of your tiles, which is really great. So, yeah, so this was kind of everything that went through the video. Like, again, I think it's just important to just kind of go through this as you're looking at the job, and then just reminding yourself on how to go about things. So we'll probably leave the grouting for next time, and then we'll probably do grouting in the shower faucet on the next stream, because this isn't going to take an incredible amount of time to go through. Well, we do have the temperature gauge on there, so we're already an hour in, and wow, it's amazing how time flies. So if you guys have other questions, I'd be more than happy to help you out here. Okay, thanks for the info and the foam curb for the tips and dealing with the wacky wall and sharp. Yeah, Doug, you join a course, you can always email me. I'll be happy to try to give you more guidance on that. Definitely try to help you out here as much as I can, but getting into the course will certainly give me more motivation to do that. And again, at my site at bathroomremodeling.teachable.com, or you can just go to my website, which I need to show you that. I've been working on my wife and I have been working really hard on getting my website together for having a whole bunch of bathroom remodeling information, and this is all free to everyone who wants to use it. It's just obviously I'm trying to build a platform here that is useful to everyone, and the more useful I am, the better. I know how this stuff works. But basically, my homepage, plan, learn, build, that's what it's all about. Planning and learning and building your own custom shower. So in the plan page, there's a lot of great information here. I got my guides. So there's a whole bunch of guides I have in here. Basically choosing a curbless shower system, and then I don't know, we don't have the curb shower in here. I don't know why we don't have that in there. I'll have to make sure we put that in there soon. But I got my checklist for the bathroom remodel in 7 days. This basically highlights what you want to do every day to be able to accomplish that. A bunch of different checklists that I made for like this Kohler system. I really like this. This Kohler system is a really simple way to have a diverter valve, and then just basically hooking it up to your existing shower faucet. So even if you had an existing shower, you can just use this system where it just goes into the shower head, and it works out great. The Kohler handheld hydro rail system is a really great option. Also save you some time if you're going to build a new shower. You can just put a single shower valve in with a single shower head port, and then this all comes out and has that nice, beautiful look. The shower doors, which we're going to get into this course at a future date, but I have a whole checklist on this and a video to watch there for it. Going over the grouting, that's what we're going to go into next. So a lot of this stuff is going to kind of duplicate it in the course, just kind of formatted in a more easy broken down system a lot. And again, with all those different links that will help you out and be able to go through things. And then my wife really created this beautiful, awesome tutorial on design. So check this out. She put a lot of work into this, and it's just basically kind of giving you some guidance on choosing tile, choosing, trying to reference what your home is. I'm not going to go through it, but just read this article. I think it's really helpful for people who are, really trying to get into the design feature. That's one of my weaknesses, is the design feature. I've always just left it up to my wife to choose all of the items that were in the home. This is actually a flip home that we did a few years ago, probably more than a few years ago, probably 7 years ago now. But I always left it up to her to design the place. So she has a lot of great tips in here on how to go about this and think ahead on what you're doing. Look at that bathroom she found. That's absolutely crazy. So a lot of great information in here. I really want to get into more design stuff here in the future too. A lot of the programs I do for just even my estimates. So even when you're looking at my estimates, I always have like a little highlight of what the bathroom is going to look like. So, this was this bathroom where it was 4x8, and, you can have this little bump out knee wall, or the bump out that was there, but it kind of references everything. It kind of makes everything look really professional. And I use Chief Architect for that. And so I did this last year, as you can see, to June 6th, 2021 is when I gave this quote. But overall, this will give you motivation. This is basically what the cost of this shower and bathroom was. And it was roughly, by the time we were done, it was around 15 grand for this whole bathroom. So materials were roughly $6 grand. I still got to go through that. I'm going to get a good price list of everything together on this, but I think the materials were roughly $6 grand. So you're definitely going to save yourself $8,000 to $9,000 by doing it yourself. Now, obviously, there are tools that you're going to need to buy, and there's things that you're going to need to be able to do that. So, obviously it's not going to be a complete bonus. There's things that you have to be able to purchase to do that. So, how do I schedule my live streams, Gene? It's kind of all over the place. I'm sorry. I don't have a set schedule on that. I'm going to try to get better at just doing it twice a week type of thing. And Doug, you're selling that Florida trip. It's sounding pretty enticing, man. 69 Camaro. All right, man. You might have to work a little bit more, and maybe I'll be down there to help you out with that. That's awesome, man. I've tiled for over 25 years professionally. Still find it hard to believe that anyone sticks to foam. Anything mortar holds it together. And as far as I'm concerned, I prefer concrete, sand, cement if I choose. Mike, I'm not going to argue with you, man. I think if you've been doing it that way for all those years, you know exactly what you're talking about. And I agree. In a lot of senses, I agree with you. I think doing a mortar bed shower system. Now, I wouldn't do the rubber liners. I think if you're still doing that, then I totally disagree with you. I don't think that makes any sense anymore to do a rubber liner. But if you're doing a topical waterproofing, if you're doing Schluter over top of it, if you're doing a bonding flange type of shower, I 100% agree with you. I think it's definitely probably better. But explain to me how you do that on a curbless system. Most of those mortar beds have to be at least 3/4 inch at the drain location. Unless you're notching down joists, you're having a hard time being able to get that slope for that. But I absolutely do agree with you on mortar beds are probably going to be outlasting maybe possibly a lot of the foam pans. But that weedy system, man, I don't know. It's pretty rock solid. I've been using that for almost 15 years now. But I guess that'll be to tell the test of time. Maybe once I'm 90 years old, we can get back to the argument on it. But I have ripped out a lot of mud beds that are over those rubber liners, and because there was issues, and most of the time it's just installer error all the way around. That's why you won't see me doing a rubber liner. I think there's too many things that can go wrong with that. Why have a weed pull system? Why have that mortar bed get saturated with water? Do a topical waterproofing so that once the water gets underneath the towel, it escapes the system. I think it's definitely the better way to go. So I've had a car for 40 years this summer. I like foam shower cement on floors. Foam board, no doubt. The foam systems are just simply pre-sloped systems that are going to make it easier for the installer. Overall, that's really the bottom line. Now, you might have a method where you're able to do that mortar bed and speed up time, and especially if you get the rapid setting type of screed mortar, you can probably get into the same time frame that I possibly am putting. I don't know though. I don't know if you can beat me at Weedy though. 3-4 hours, I'm ready to tile. Can you do that with a mortar bed? I don't know if you can or not. That'd be interesting to see if you can. So Anthony, do you have any tips or tools to miter a 48-inch wide niche? You mean, okay, so 48 inches to miter. Mitering, so if you're trying to do a miter on your porcelain tiles, I would probably run it through a wet saw at a 45, not cutting the top, like basically cutting the factory edge. So cutting just below the factory edge, and then just dressing it up with the STL blade. You know what? Amazon doesn't even carry the STL blade. So at the Montalit STL. So this guy here, this is what I would dress it up with. So the Montalit STL blade, it does have a hefty price to it, but yeah, I would use a wet saw, try to cut it on the 45, obviously tilt the blade, but don't cut the surface of the tile. Most of the time when you're trying to cut tile at a 45, it just chips the whole surface of it and makes it look back. So try to use the factory edge for your front edges that are going to be creating those miters. And then, you obviously can just cut the depth of your niche pretty easily. But then, basically fine tuning that edge on the 45 with the Montalit. I need to do that someday. I have not done the miters on niches yet. I see a lot of guys doing that. There's a lot of great guys on Instagram and stuff doing that. I think it makes a lot of sense. Just kind of takes a little bit of time, and then, obviously you're grinding away. You're creating a lot of dust. You got to be outside doing all that stuff. So it does take time to do that. But yeah, combination of the wet saw and the grinder blade is going to make the biggest difference. So, all right. So we're about an hour in. Again, guys, thanks so much for joining me. I'll probably have another live stream Saturday. I have a big, I'm going to have a premiere. I'll be on in the live chat, probably for my curbless shower, basically all the wall tile, and I want to be live after that. Usually those live streams aren't quite as long because we're just kind of BSing a little bit, going over some of the concepts and stuff. So, but yeah, thanks so much for joining me, Gene. I'll try to post things out further in advance on these live streams, but I try to get at least this referenced out a couple hours in advance so that everybody gets notified. So, all right, guys.